Hello, everyone, and what is up? This is Jacob Minig, the host of the Behavioral Health Integration Podcast. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am to start the show. Little side note, what has just recently happened to me on March 1st, I have officially become a licensed mental health professional. I am finally a licensed professional clinical counselor, and I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for this new journey. I'm an LPCC/LADC now, and that's just really, truly awesome. And I just want to thank everyone who's ever supported me on this journey. It really means a lot, especially to all my fans on the show. It still really hasn't sunk in, like, my accomplishment, this incredibly long process of when I started grad school at the age of 30, getting through grad school in a little over 3 years, and then getting a light start on my supervision, and then just finally finishing after roughly 3 years of that. It's just been a tremendously long journey, but so worth it in the end. And I just don't know really what to say, but on how just excited I am to begin this new journey of being a licensed mental health therapist. And I just feel that this goes perfectly with a new episode, being to be or not to be a therapist. This is why I'm very excited to again have Eric Nance and Justin Coates as my two special guests on the show, where we're going to get into many different career-related discussions. We will be getting into the pros and cons of mental health addiction field. We will bring up certain topics around professional concern for the future of the mental health addiction field, as also the reasons we may be optimistic about it. We will get into discussions about each other's career paths and where we are today in them. We will also get into many great discussions, especially for graduate students who are considering a career in any type of mental health addiction counseling, social work, like being a psychologist, and the highs and lows and the pros and cons of going that route possibly. So I, for one, am truly excited, and I cannot wait to get started. So let's begin. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Behavioral Health Integration. I'm super excited to be here with these two gentlemen, Justin and Eric. Again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us, Jacob.
Yep. Yes, appreciate it.
And for those who do not know, they are actually a part of a podcast called Dark Side of Therapy. I would highly encourage everyone to check it out. I'll make sure I put that link on the bottom of my show notes.
Awesome. Thank you.
And again, I am so super excited about this show because I really feel like it entails everything what I'm about and what my podcast is about, is helping the professionals in this field. It's not just going to be a bitch fest the whole time. Like, I want us to start thinking of like some solutions and how we can better this field, not just for us, but about the future therapists coming into it. So again, I know we're going to have a great show, and I'm really excited to get started.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I'm just thinking to start off, would you gentlemen like to tell me a little bit about like what motivates you to get into the field, and what came into making the decision to pick your certain grad program? Because as we all know, there's a lot of different avenues we can go through in grad programs. So
can I just preface this by saying I asked this question of Eric like 3 weeks in a row, and every single time the answer has been a little bit better than mediocre. So this is not like your fourth time being asked this, Eric. So I just hope that you have a really good
fourth time is a charm. So tonight I should nail it based on your numbers there.
I love it.
I'll start. I'll take you out. I'll give you some time to think, Eric. Eric, actually, we took turns asking this question a couple episodes ago, and one of the questions was like, what would I have been if I wouldn't have been a therapist? And my response to that was an attorney, right? Nice. Like I really wanted to be an attorney rather than sort of being a therapist and that kind of a thing. So, but my bachelor's degree, I sort of didn't really know for sure. So I chose psychology. Because nobody told me you can't do anything with a bachelor's in psychology. Right. And then I needed to pick a minor program and I had to pick one that had the least amount of credits because I was picking it last minute and I wanted to graduate on time. So at least at the time I did chemical dependency. And I'm a little bit bummed at the time. I was the last class that, at least in Minnesota, where the requirements for a minor or the credits for a minor would meet the requirements to be an LADC. Because now you have to major in it, right? And so the only thing that I didn't do, so I have the schooling, at least at the time, but I never went and I never did my, I think, what is it, like an 880-hour, 860-hour internship. I never did it because I was broke and just didn't do it. So anyways, after that, I did apply to a program to get to, because I was going to go, the licenses you could get were like LPCC, LMFT, and I wanted to go and do that. And so the school turned me down because, I messed around a little bit, and didn't have a great GPA. So I went and I worked for child protection I worked at a group home, and then I worked in child protection for about 6 years. And I got to meet a lot of really awesome providers. And one of the providers became my mentor, and she's a licensed psychologist. And she has a private practice, and she does neuropsychological evaluations, but from a trauma lens, right? So her reports are pretty different than, some of the bigger places, like Mayo Clinic and Fraser and those kind of things here in Minnesota. And so I didn't do a traditional practicum. I didn't do a traditional therapy practicum. I did neuropsychs, which was super cool. It was super awesome training. She was phenomenal. On top of my training, I think I did like 30 additional CEUs that she paid for. And I was like, sure, I'm not going to say no. So I got some certifications. She was really a great person. And anyways, it was during child protection when she told me, she really encouraged me to go back to school. And so that's when I went back during child protection. So I did my master's program, and then that's how I got linked. And then I did my practicum with her. And so she also is the reason why I'm torturing myself with this doctoral program, because I really, to be really honest, and Eric knows this, I don't enjoy therapy all that much. I really don't. I enjoy the assessment piece. And so that's what I can see myself doing, the assessment piece, and really at some point probably being in the university system as a professor. So I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily chose the career. I feel like it sort of just happened, through people I met.
That's really cool that you mentioned that, because a lot of people go to me, and I've had this question too about doing my PhD, doing my PsyD program. Because again, I am going the LPCC route, and a lot of the professors told me, if you just want to do therapy, just be an LPCC, because you're going to waste a lot of time and money.
Right.
And again, this is their opinion, not everyone's.
Right.
Try to pursue, let's say, a PsyD, if that's all you like. But they said if you like doing assessments, then there you go. Like that's a reason, or one of the reasons to again get a PsyD. And if you love research, PhD would be also a beneficial route to take.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started my PsyD program because I was adamant I would never do research. So I started my PsyD at an APA accredited program up in Minneapolis. And then I got out of it after about a year because I was like, man, this is just so much. And, I was trying to start my business and trying to be present as a husband and a father. And then after about 9 months off, I just was like, I got to go back. I can't. I need this part of me. And yeah. And so I'm in the PhD clinical psych program, but it's not APA accredited, right? So it's like, I don't know. So it limits certain things. I don't ever plan to work for the government. I don't ever plan to work for a hospital. I always plan to work for myself. Right. So I don't necessarily need the APA stuff, but it does take, or it does require a whole lot of paperwork and nightmares and things with the board, and we can get to that. But
that's what
Candace
has told me.
Yeah, that's what she told me too, and I was like, I was hoping. No, don't tell me that, Candace. Tell me it was a smooth, easy process. Did it in 12 seconds. Right. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't know if my story is going to be okay. You want a straight answer tonight? I'll give it to you. I don't know if I know the origin story, but I see, Jacob, I have so few talents that talking is one of the few things I do well. And I'm also a good listener. So I think at some point I must have recognized I have that skill. And I like to think, I grew up being the kind of kid that loved stories. I mean, it's very different now because back in the day, you only had so much media. So you had to kind of create more in your head. Yes, I'm aging myself. I'm 48. But I've always been drawn to art. And I sort of look at therapy as a way to do art without actually creating a visual picture. You get to create an art with another person. And that I think that's what really attracted me to it. In terms of where I went to grad school, I wanted to be a social worker. Portland, Oregon, only accredited school in Oregon. And somebody once said to me, if you're going to get in the field, do social work because it's the most versatile. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like social workers can get hired just about everywhere. But I wanted to go the clinical route, which for some reason I chose the community-based service route in college. I don't know why. So I got out of grad school having very little clinical experience. And so a lot of my education came just through trial by fire of working with client after client after client. And I think that's how it is for a lot of people, though. I don't know if a lot of people get through grad school thinking, I really know what it's like to be a therapist. I sure didn't. I think this is one of the few jobs that's uniquely, you have to do it before you really have a clue. And so that's how I came to how I became an LICSW.
Okay. That's so much shorter than my answer.
You got to hit them hard, Justin.
Oh no, like I could add on to his part too. I'm not saying I had animosity towards social workers. It's like the only beef, which is hilarious because my supervisor, I am done, so I could say my former supervisor, but she's awesome. I love her. Shout out to Martha. She's a social worker, so she's heard my bull crap about it, this and that. Look, the only beef I had is when I was a grad student, there was these really cool crisis hospital jobs that I really wanted. And as a grad student, you're kind of looking ahead of the future. You go on Indeed.com, just see what's out there, And I'm like, oh my God, crisis hospital job, crisis therapist titled. I would love that job. Let's check out the details. So social workers were the only ones allowed for that position.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you have clinical therapists on there, but only allow social workers? And again, social workers can be great therapists. It doesn't matter what avenue you choose. I just thought it was extremely disrespectful. And there's that you're not even going to allow LMFTs or LPCCs to apply for that job. All you want is social workers. That's years.
And think about this. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Justin, but LPCCs couldn't even bill Medicare until this year.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So when you talk about classifying it, so you really hit a nerve now because I think we're pretty passionate about this. How do you delineate who gets to do what, right? And you already have enough warring faction between mental health providers anyway. Why make it worse by saying, well, these people over here, we're not going to let you bill? Because think about what that says and think about what the implication is. Well, you're going to see less clients.
Yep.
And many Medicare clients are underserved as it is, but you're saying you're an LPCC, you don't get to do that. And it is bullshit. And I'm so glad that changed.
I'll remember it to the day I did crisis therapist position when it's so cool. And here's my thought, Eric, and I think you mentioned it. I think just social workers could do more. And I don't know if that's the hospital's way of just like, okay, we could use a social worker for this, that. Where in LPCC, we're limited in what we could do in certain things.
I also
title. Yeah.
Well, I think there's also just sort of a misunderstanding, right? Like there's just maybe, sort of a misunderstanding of what all of the things are. Like, what is a social worker, right? Because I mean, you think about like even at the county level. I mean, I was a child protection worker, and some agencies say child protection social worker, and others are like, no, you're a child protection case manager, right? Because social worker means you have a degree in social work. I don't have a degree in social work, right? You can have a bachelor's of social work. You can even be an LSW, which is a non-clinical degree. And so I think there's some confusion on that. And so like in the hospitals, they're not necessarily just doing clinical stuff. I mean, they're also doing a lot of what I would consider social work stuff, right? They're connecting them with other not that LPCCs don't do that, but social worker, when I think social worker, I think the county people, getting resources, connected with other services, those kind of things. So you're doing a lot of those kinds of things also in the hospitals.
That pisses my supervisor off so much. I'm not saying obviously you know better, but whenever I said that, she would always get so pissed off at me, and she'd call me out in supervision when because I said the same thing. Resources, they're really good.
It's
and that's
true.
They're really good. That's a good thing, but they can do so much more.
Right.
Too.
Eric, how does it? You're the only LICSW in this room. How does it feel to be the minority? What do you think about that?
Yeah, finally, a social worker who's in the minority.
Yeah. Notice that I'm approaching this with a certain amount of timidity, just so I don't get any more shit than I usually get. But here's the thing. Let me go above and beyond that, because we're all equals here. See, when I meet a psychologist, okay, I don't look like Candace. I don't look at her and say, well, here's my psychologist friend every morning. But I know some people do see it like that. And we're all social workers. How many cases have you been a part of where you didn't do something social worky or something therapisty? I'm a clinical therapist. I'm not a social worker, but I carry the title. And that's why it's so confusing to people when they say, well, go see an LICSW. That's a social worker. Yep. Which leads to all the other problem, which is we don't teach people what these titles mean. And usually it's only by getting services that they learn the hard way. Well, that's what that means. Oh, who knows what an LPCC is? It doesn't get defined.
I said something so damn and I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but like when I was working as an arms worker or whatever, one of my bosses was a social worker, and we were just talking about grad programs. So I come from other graduate school, so it's LPCC, mental health addiction track. And I'm talking to her. I'm like, well, if you want to be like a really good therapist, whatever, you'd go to an LPCC school and whatever. And she got so pissed at me. She's like, what does that have to do with anything? Social workers could be just as great or better therapists than LPCCs. She is right. She is absolutely right. But at my young clinical age, I was just thinking, well, if you go to LMFT school, you're going to be a better LMFT than LPCC, which again is not necessarily true. Just you take more classes and you may have more knowledge on certain things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think maybe Eric and I have talked about this before, but like the medical system, right? There is sort of this hierarchy sort of thing, even within the mental health field, and we all are equals. Even though I like to joke about that, right?
It's so hurt you to say that.
Well, I'm just thinking of like, okay, it doesn't hurt me to say it, but here's the thing. When you get your PhD, I mean, that is 5 extra years. That is 700 more hours of practicum work. That is an entire year of internship. It is 2 years of clinical work where you are sort of the baby that doesn't know anything, right? Whereas when you're a fully licensed LICSW or LPCC, you're sort of like at the top of your respected area or field, right? And so I don't know, maybe, and Candace, I'm sure, is way more humble than I will be. But when I get that PhD and an LP, I'm not going to try to treat anybody lesser than, but it's also like, man, when somebody is trying to argue with me about something, especially something I specialize in, I might have to pull that PhD card because it's like, I did a lot of freaking work. You know what I mean? Like, so
respected. It should be respected too.
Right. I don't need, to bow down, that kind of a thing. If you want to, I'm not going to tell you no, but to be respected, I don't know. I do feel strongly about this. So it doesn't pain me to say it. It just, there's just so much work. Have you ever sat through quantitative and qualitative statistics? I'm going to tell you, it's hell. It's hell.
So I think that's why when I was younger, clinically younger in the field, I think that was my main argument too against social workers, because when they would look at my curriculum, they're like, oh, it's really mental healthy. It's very one-on-one psychology, like whatever. I'm like, so can you respect me in that I've taken a lot more classes than you have when it comes to one-on-one therapy, counseling, whatever. Please respect the knowledge that I've obtained and the effort I put in. I'm not saying I'm better than you, but like,
I'm not sure what school you went to, Jacob, but that explains it.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because oh my God.
Because my master's program didn't teach me jack diddly. I feel like I didn't learn crap about crap. Other than my writing, like how to write papers and stuff, certainly got a lot better. but I don't feel like after my master's program, I don't feel like I was prepared for anything. I took like one psychological test. I don't even know, psychological assessment class. And I learned a lot, but it was one semester. And so I mean, at least my program, I don't feel like I learned anything. Even in my first year, and if anybody that knows me, sorry about this, but my first year of my PsyD program up in the Metro, I feel like I didn't learn anything other than I didn't fit the mold for the typical standard psychologist, like everything they were teaching me was like, yeah, I do the opposite, So I don't know. I don't feel like maybe I even got the same training in my master's program. I feel like my training came from my practicum experience and then everything outside of that, all the things that I did outside of grad school. So I don't even, the letters behind my name right now, my teenagers ask me all the time, what are all those things on your wall? Like, those are really expensive ass pieces of paper that if you ever break them, be pissed because the school's probably going to charge me another $20,000 to print it off. So
can I say Adler Graduate School has the most ugliest degrees in the freaking world. I had to at least get a nice frame to make it look acceptable.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adler, horrible. You spent 3 years. Can you at least make your degrees look respectful, please? It was just so ugly. So ugly.
What do you think, Eric? I feel like you got some thoughts.
Well, I do. Well, here's the first thought that I'm thinking, because I mean, Jacob, we're really broadcasting to the mental health practitioner community, right? Kind of like what Justin and I do. We want to educate the people. You wouldn't think mental health would be so competitive amongst the practitioners, but it is. It's sort of like the clinical mafia. We don't like to share information with each other. We're very closed off. Yes. And that's what pisses me off, because I've heard people say this directly to me. I spent a lot of money to learn that shit. Well, then go teach it to somebody, right? Why keep it to yourself? But I feel like that's what we do. Independent of our degrees and your PhDs and all that stuff, we do some really bad shit. Okay? Yes. As people who are supposed to be client-centered. Well, client-centered means you share as much information as you can with as many people. And I think, Justin, you and I are like that. We like to educate and we like to share what we know because, God forbid they learn something. But independent of our degrees, we don't like to share in this field. And there's a lot of arrogance for a field that doesn't pay very well. Okay. So if you're planning on getting into the field, just know it is competitive. It is brutal. It is mean. It is go to a conference and try to strike a conversation with somebody. Okay. Yeah.
Eric, are you also talking about us in the mental health field? So LPCCs have issues with LMFTs and LMFTs have issues with social work. We are just very, we protect our licenses very much. And it's do not go territory. Do not go my territory. This is my shit.
Right.
And it's horrible. Right. It's just even amongst even LPCs with LPCCs, we treat each other like shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you know what? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
As I was going to say, the great equalizer for all of this is, what do your clients think? But what you see, we can't ask other clinicians' clients, so we never. That's the other thing about our field. There's so many secrets that nobody ever knows. So we make a lot of assumptions about clinician competence and all this because we don't get to interview other people. So that's why my theory is you can be really shitty in this field, but have a 30-year career because a lot of what you do and say is completely private between 2 or 3 people.
Yeah,
I
know. So I know a psychologist who is everything that I despise, and I was talking recently, and person approached me, and my nervous system instantly was like, "Please stop," but because it was like let me recognize that you're smart, right? Like, this is how I felt he approached me. It was like, yes, Justin, you're smart, but now I'm going to tell you why I'm so much smarter, right? And I'm just like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, except that I've had some of your previous clients come to me, and the things that I have heard pretty much refute everything that you're about to say, right? So, yes, we're very territorial, and those that have PhDs can sometimes be very egotistical, right? Just like MDs versus the nurses, right?
Right.
I mean, it's in everything. But yes, we do protect our respective boards, and I don't know why, because it's not like we owe anything to our boards. I don't know.
I think it's like some fields in the past have gotten their profession taken away because one profession overtook them. Like, I know this isn't everyone in the LADC field, licensed alcohol drug counselor. I know some of them are very nervous about the peer recovery specialist coming in, being able to do billing, because some LADCs think like they're on our territory, they're going to take over our profession, which things like that have happened in the past where professions have gone away because they got gobbled up. I don't ever see that happening, with all due respect to the LADCs that are nervous. Like, I don't ever see peer recovery specialists taking over addiction counselors. I don't see it ever.
Well, and that's a whole nother thing, right? I mean, LADCs are the only bachelor level license to do sort of that sort of work, which, you know, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I've had LADCs approach me, and they're trying to tell me about clinical work, and I'm like, please don't, please don't go there. You know,
can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is gonna go well. Like, sometimes, like, again, nothing wrong with the 12-step AA, NA interventions. It's helped thousands of people. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not in recovery personally. But I respect it that it's helped other people. But sometimes, like, I'll have LADCs who are they're in recovery, which is great, and they're pro 12-step NA. God, people are going to hate me, never speak to me after I say this, if I'm going to say it. No, because they're so ingrained in the 12-step AA. Sometimes the way they talk to me, like you said, Justin, clinically, they'll try to be clinical. And it's just like CBT motivational interviewing. So I had this thought, like, why are you even going to grad school right now for mental health therapy? Like, just the way you're clinically talking, or you're trying to be clinical, but you're being very ignorant and your language is horrible. Why are you even trying to go to grad school if this is going to be your mentality?
Well, I'll back you up on that. I'm not a fan of the 12 steps either, at all. And I mean, I've had those conversations with some of my clients that are in recovery. Again, I respect them, and if my mentor used this phrase, and it took me a few times for her to say it before I understood what the hell it meant. But she kept saying, you know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And it took I don't know why that I've just had never heard that saying before. And so I think that applies here, right? Like, not all of the 12 steps are bad. Not everything about the 12 steps are bad, but there is a lot about it that doesn't work. And there's a reason why relapse, like, yes, relapse is a part of recovery, but also there's other reasons why relapse is so significant, and why it is, you know, when you're a meth user or whatever, why the statistics say your first time out of inpatient treatment, this is how likely you are to relapse. Well, because the 12 steps are great once you've done other work first. I mean, you have to be able to understand your nervous system, understand your triggers, do all those things. The 12 steps are very CBT and DBT. And I am of the personal and professional belief that you can't do all the CBT and DBT crap until you've done all of the nervous system regulation stuff. Once you've done that, right. We're using our prefrontal cortex when that part needs to be detoxed, especially when you're talking drugs, right?
Can I cut in for 1 second?
Of course, because I know you're going to say something.
Look, let's just give the devil his due, because AA did pioneer the 12 steps. You got to give him some credit for that, okay?
The shit I hear about Bill W, though, the shit I hear about that guy, though, like behind the scenes, is not so great. But yes, he did do the 12 steps. It is great.
Well, you hear a lot of shit about Freud too, but he's the founder of our field.
Hey, leave Freud. Don't start with Freud. Leave Freud alone. He was just misunderstood.
Cocaine being a miracle drug, and
he was doing a lot of cocaine at that point, so there's a reason for that. But no, here's the thing. I think I want to be sure I'm hearing you both right, but probably the LADCs, but like every field, we think we're right. So we think what we're doing is kind of a one size fits all. And I mean, my God, think about how many mental health clients we have that have CD issues. We don't even address the CD issues. Maybe you have to address the mental stuff first. But I think our order of operations is really bad for most of the work that we do. Okay. And I think we don't have a good foothold on what to do worse. Probably the reason people relapse, and probably the reason our field lags behind other fields of quote science, because we're not very good at understanding what the hell we're doing. So that's my 2 cents. Shout out to AA. Just want to give them some props. And
yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with AA. And I've very frequently, especially when I do my parenting capacity evaluations, I mean, I just recently did one. Yeah, go to your AA meetings and your NA meetings, not necessarily because I believe in all of the foundational aspects of it, but because there are a lot of other good things like connection and network and support, which speaks to the nervous system, right? Dr. Bruce Perry will talk about the best healing agent for trauma is connection, right? Without connections, we can't do that. And so there's a lot of great things. So I don't want it to come across as I'm totally disagreeing. I just happen to disagree with sort of the fundamental foundational aspects of AA, NA, and just the way we approach addiction in general, right?
But Justin, isn't it sort of like, okay, we talk about EMDR and all the interventions and how you always get these great flyers. I've got them around my office here. And everybody's like, my thing is so great, but very few people in the field ever talk about, well, here's what didn't go so well. We tend to only exemplify what we're doing well. I'll bet you EMDR has permanently harmed a lot of people. Yeah. I'll bet you it has. But does that ever get out there? No, it's a very high-end technique. It's a little scary. But you don't hear about the dark side, little plug for us, of that. And I think that attests to what we're talking about too, is talk about what's wrong with AA. Talk about what's wrong with some of these techniques. And people don't.
And to defend AA, it was really interesting. There was like this video. I never watched it completely. Because there's some documentaries that are truly meant just to knock a business or profession, and there's no positive they speak about it. This video is talking about 13th stepping. And a lot of the veteran 12 steppers will take advantage of the new person recovering, sleep with them, whatever. And it's I thought that was bullshit because that happens everywhere. That happens corporations, Target, Walmart, whatever. It's just you can't just say AA is a bad thing because their elders sleep with their the new people in recovery. It just does. It's bullshit. That happens everywhere.
It does.
Yep, I agree.
You're right.
Therapists sleep with their clients. Mental health therapists sleep with their clients. That happens.
That's the one thing in my master's program and in my PsyD program that I think I definitely learned. They said it in every class, not even just my ethics class, but don't sleep with your client. Don't sleep with your client. I was like, okay, we get it. Don't sleep with your client. Duh, common sense. And then I got into the field that I'm practicing, and it's just you hear these very vulnerable things about these very vulnerable people, and I do some forensic work, so I'm around people. My mind, I'm trying to put this in a way that doesn't make it sound weird. I work with these people, so I have to understand how their minds work, right? And so my mind oftentimes man, if I was a criminal, I wouldn't have done that. This is how I would have done it, right? And so then when you're in session, you're thinking about these people. I don't know how many aha moments I've had where and this is the teenager who could totally be taken advantage of right now. And this is what they were talking about in ethics. And this is why, they have all these things. I just renewed my liability insurance, and I went through a different company. And one of the questions was do you have other practitioners, W-9s or 1099s? And I'm like, or W-2s or 1099s. I'm like, yep. And then the next question was, do you want to take out extra insurance in case they sexually molest a child? And I'm like, fuck, what? Jesus Christ. That wasn't on my last one, but I never thought about it like that. Holy fuck. I would have, I would have to defend somebody, or at least my agency, even if they're a 1099 contractor, right? So for those of you listening that are thinking about private practice, which I have a whole issue about private practice that I want to talk about sometime. But if you're private practice or you want to have a small practice, those are the kinds of things you have to think about. even if you have a 1099 contractor, which by the way, 1099 contractors in the mental health field are probably going away given the new crap that was passed about contractors versus W-2 employees. But anyways, even if they're a contractor, if they do something, like that still looks bad on your agency, because to the layperson, they don't know what the hell a contractor and a W-2 employee is. Bottom line is they work at your agency. And so when I saw that come through, I was like, holy fuck. Like that is a reality. You know, that's not something I ever would have really thought about. But as I sit in here with these clients, I'm like, man, these are very vulnerable people. And I've had to consult about an adult with one of my other therapists about, like, I think she has like this thing for me. Like, she's constantly bringing up sex in inappropriate times, like talking about these things, you know, so it can easily happen. It can easily happen. And it's, now I know why they said it all the time in grad school.
Yep. Well, and I hope we're not off topic, so bring me back in if we are, or I am, Jacob. But when, you know, Candace and I do some presentations, and we actually make it a point to throw up every year the, you know, 6 or 7 Minnesota people that got in trouble, got their licenses revoked. And if you do a deep search, because I think everybody thinks it's not going to happen to me, but sex with clients does happen. And I'll bet you a lot of the reason for that is people are so ashamed to say, I am attracted to a client. And so they think, I got this. Go search New York's website or one of the other big states, California. It lays out everybody that screwed up. And you're going to see relationships that got sexual with clients, because it becomes public information. Do not think it can't happen to you. Don't think it, because you're right, Justin. We hear very intimate stuff. We're human beings. And it probably isn't even our desire to have sex. It's our desire to maybe save or rescue that gets activated. Oh my God. But the board doesn't care. You have sex with your client, you're not going to work again. But for God's sake, talk to somebody. That's why in our group supervision, I tell them every week, if you have high-risk clients, if you're attracted to a client, we need to talk about it, because if you hold that in, you're going to fuck up.
Yes, you are.
And that's it.
You are. Yep.
Well, and it's important to be aware too, like, it doesn't just happen right away. One, you got to take care of your needs. And two, you need to, again, be aware of the little things like the flirtatious talk, or you can do light touching on the hand, and that becomes hugs at the end of sessions, and then that becomes something else. You need to be aware of like the certain process that takes place and knowing when to stop it, and then get supervision right away.
You're right. It's very gradual. It's not just, you know, we're going to meet for the first time and have sex, but it is a process, and the boundaries, I think, tend to just progressively loosen. And then all of a sudden you're sleeping together, and that's it. Didn't happen overnight, but it happened.
And let's be honest, we have shit that goes on in our lives. We're humans. I just had this conversation like 3 times yesterday with my clients. Like, we are humans too. Actually, I was having this conversation with a 16-year-old, and, you know, she's worried about her friends finding out that she's going to therapy, you know, and I said, I get that. And even though there's a push, you know, the last few years to like I get why you wouldn't want your friends to know that you're at therapy. And I just asked her, like, why? And she just said, it's, you know, it's a little embarrassing. And I sort of cut her off, and I said, embarrassing that you are human and you have problems? And she sort of giggled, and I said, well, if it makes you feel any better, did you know that therapists have therapists? And she like sort of gives me this look, and I said, most therapists have therapists. I said, the only reason I don't have a therapist, I said, you're going to learn a little bit about me right here. I said, the only reason I don't have one is because I don't think any of them are smart enough to meet with me. I fire them right away. I haven't found a good fit. I just haven't. I said, but we have stuff that go on in our lives that we have to work with. Right. And so, and I think that's another, probably an easy way or an explanation to why, you know, sex with clients happens, because we have stuff going on in our lives. Right. And now all of a sudden, well, this client really gets me, or like, this feels good.
Yes.
Like, maybe I share something, and they're like, then they, you know, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
No,
very, very much.
Tough disclosure. I was in grad school with a fellow female, or another grad student, and she was talking about her experience with this man that she was doing therapy with. I think she was in her internship. And she was like being honest. She's like, I find this man attractive. I believe he was going through a divorce at the time, and she was just really connecting with them. The therapist, was laughing at his jokes, and And that's what she told me in the class. She's like, oh my God, like I could see him being my boyfriend. I could see him for the future with me. I could just totally see myself with him. Right. And now she's wondering like how this looks with her, because maybe he likes the fact that I laugh at his jokes and I find him attractive, and then that's when you get supervision, and then
right. I mean, that could be a whole workshop that we do, Justin, just attraction to clients, because nobody else is addressing it. I don't get one fucking flyer for addressing attraction to clients. Do you?
I got the perfect title. It could be what happens in the therapy office stays in the therapy office, or does it?
Play on Vegas. Yeah.
You know what pissed me off in grad school is like I was always very fascinated with the transference and countertransference. And whenever I raised my hand in class and I wanted to learn more about it, I'd always get weird look. And I'm not saying it's a woman thing, whatever, but it's always a female client giving me like a female peer student giving me a weird look. Like, why are you so interested in this? Like I'm some kind of pervert. It's like, no, I want to know how to handle transference and countertransference. That's why I'm asking. If a client tells me, hey, I find you sexually attractive, how to handle it. It's not that I'm a pervert. I really find this interesting and I want to learn how to deal with transference.
So, Jacob, you got shamed for your curiosity to be a better therapist.
Once by a coworker in grad school, because she's like, "What? Why are you always asking questions? Do you think it's going to happen?" I'm like, "Woman, it could, and you're going to grad school too." Yeah. And I remember like yesterday, this woman just gave me, because I asked about it. I really want to learn about it. Then we had break, and then the professor forgot. So I reminded the professor, "Hey, I would like to learn about countertransference." I remember just the look she gave me, like, "What is your deal? Why do you keep like?" And it just happened to be two women, and it's because I want to freaking learn.
Well, let's be honest. Okay, I'm sure you have female or female identified viewers watching this episode or will watch this episode. And so let's just be really honest. This field is dominated, right, or predominantly female.
Caucasian women.
Yeah.
Yes, Caucasian women. And that is the majority of professionals in this field. So I'm not saying that women are attracted to women. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. That's obviously a thing. But it's the most of the people coming to therapy are also women, right? Like you don't, like men aren't signing up being like, "Yep, I want to talk about my toxic masculinity. Please sign me up for those therapy sessions. I want to talk about how I was abused as a child." Like that's not happening. Do I have a lot of male teen clients? Sure, but they're here against their will. Child protection, that kind of a thing. So
involuntary.
I do think it maybe gets lost. That concept gets lost because it's such a female driven a profession, and we're guys, right? It is a little bit let's be really honest about it. It is different for men, especially when most of our clients are probably going to be females, unless we specialize in just seeing men, right? It's different. But even then, I mean, if you're bisexual or gay, I mean, it still is a problem. So let's not sugarcoat it. I'm not going to get into the whole debate about gender and all those kind of things. Look, females are the majority, and I think it just sort of is a topic that gets lost. And so when we bring that up as a male, we're genuinely curious, and it's not a like, well, I want to know how to get out of it, so in case I do have sex with my client, like it's not that.
Right. And you know what sucks about tonight? Because I know Jacob, our female guest, had to cancel. I would so love to have her here right now just to hear what she has to say, even if she sets us all straight. So we need to do this again and get a female perspective, because I think that would be really fun.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We call it like countertransference or whatever, but I know it would be a great episode.
Absolutely.
Now I want to get into the direction of like, let's say if there's a college student who wants to go to grad school, but they don't know what program to get into. What's some advice we would give them to, let's say, choosing a program and getting through grad school? Because those are two huge whammies.
Well, my first question would be, do you have any student loan debt currently? If the answer is no, I would say go do an effing trade. Go find a different job. Don't go to grad school. I'm 100% serious about that because can being a therapist be lucrative? Sure. Is it so much work, and do you have to sacrifice a lot along the way? Yes. And if you already have a family like I did, my family was very young. My children were very young. And did I miss a lot of nights? Yup. Will I ever get that time back? No. Is it all worth it? I'm still figuring that out. So if today, I've said this many times, if today the United States, the Biden administration were to erase all student loan debt, guess what? I would not finish my PhD. I would not finish my PhD because it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to go get more debt and to do what I'm basically doing right now, other than the assessments, right? I mean, I'm still doing some assessment level for forensic work at a master's level, but it's just not worth it to me. And then the headaches of dealing with insurance companies and always worrying about them taking $30,000 back from you because they get a hair up their ass about some non-compliance bullshit, right? So that would be my first thing is like, okay, you graduate with your bachelor's, great. Is there something you could do with that if you don't have any student loan debt? Because I'm not sure that getting into a master's program is the greatest thing. My other question to them would be, okay, if you're trying to be a therapist, why? What do you want to do with that? Because if you think you're going to save the world, if you think you're going to save them all, if you think you're going to make this huge impact in the world, that's not true. Not to be a Debbie Downer, a big pessimist, I'm not, but the reality is, like, it's important to make a huge impact, even if it's in one person's life. That is meaningful, yes. But I think a lot of people get into this and like, man, at least for me, I was like, I worked in the child protection system. I worked in a group home. I know the systems. I know what needs to change on all this. I'm going to do it. No. And then you get here, and I'm sorry, unless you have Elon Musk money, you don't have the resources to do it because everything costs. And I'm just trying to make a living. I can't do all of the advocacy work because I'm trying to see clients to pay off my damn student loan bills. So those would be some of the things, some of the questions I would ask. And then I would say, don't be an LACSW because they're full of themselves. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? I so saw this awesome Nerf gun in Target the other day. I would fire that at the screen right now if I had it with me. I want to respond to it a little more, globally, maybe a little off topic, but here's the thing that I've learned at age 48, being in this field since 1997. You have to have a great capacity to deal with suffering, your own personal suffering. And I think that's what a lot of people don't ask themselves. I think it's sort of because I do suffer from depression. I almost feel like it helps me in some ways that I can relate to people perhaps more effectively. But I think that's what the field does to people. I don't think everybody's meant. I would say this. Here's controversy, Jacob. Probably half the people in this field are not really designed to be in this field.
Yep.
Okay. They really don't have the capacities that are required, but we're not able to really to parse that out. We don't do that with people. There's no test that says, do you have the temperament for this? So I think, because the title tonight, to be or not to be a therapist, well, you need to ask yourself, what capacity for suffering do I have? Okay. And I don't think we ever ask ourselves that when we're 20, 21 years of age.
Can I really piggyback off that? So, like, let's say the average grad student, it's like in the late 20s, early 30s, who knows? Right. And one of the main reasons is that they want to find their own shit. They want to understand, why am I the way I am today? So in order to do that, you really got to dig deep. But that's a lot to ask, to like really go through your trauma, then go to grad school. Because I went through that too at the age of 29. You're going to be 30, or I started when I was 30. And again, that's more maybe just my experience, but you're asking a lot, especially if they already work in the field. Seeing a therapist for their own shit and just taking these classes, that's a lot of work.
Right. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And I think you'd asked earlier, you were talking about, would we tell stories about people who've dropped out of the field? Did I hear that right? Yeah, I had a supervisee that dropped out because I think that she just didn't have the capacity for the suffering that goes along with the job. And I wish I would have encouraged her earlier than I did, but I'm stubborn like Justin. It's like, I'm going to see you through this. I'm going to see you through this. Well, what you forget in doing that process is the clients suffer. Okay. And so I watched this person, again, just not enjoy any part of it. I could tell every day she didn't enjoy anything she was doing. And so I fault myself for not bringing that up sooner. I really wish I would have said, you're not happy doing this. You're not happy at all. Coupled with the fact you have no capacity to deal with the suffering of angry clients, hurt clients, traumatized clients, and you have to have the capacity to absorb that. So I think, again, we need to get people asking these questions a lot younger, and I don't think we're going to do it.
Yeah. Robert, shout out to Robert. Thank you for the comment. He's my mentor, Robert. If it weren't for that man right there,
nice.
I would not be a private practice. He's helped me along the way. He's a former guest of my show. Thank you, Robert. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to figure out all these. You got to figure out all these details, Eric, for when we do our podcast, like all these like Facebook quirky things showing up at the bottom. And I really, so just a shout out to you, Jacob, and just sort of the way that all this is put together. It's really cool. So, I also just think, really do your homework on understanding what everything means. I mean, there's sort of this myth of like, oh, well, a marriage and family therapist, they just work with couples, and I'm going to be an LMFT so I can work with, couples and marriage. And my former supervisor, she's an amazing person. Love her. She's an LMFT, and she works a lot with like the same population I do. Right. So a lot of kiddos and teens and in child protection, lots of trauma. It's not couples. Right. So I think there's a lot of myths about the different kinds of things. I just want to go back to something you said earlier, Jacob, really quick, which is when I was at my previous agency, I was planning to leave them to take a job at a hospital because it was a 1 to 11 p.m. shift, 3 days a week, which I thought was great. And then I could pick up another shift if I wanted to. But 10-hour shifts, 30-hour weeks, and it was in the ER. And they would have hired me even at an LPC level, but I still needed supervision. And so that was the only reason so it didn't necessarily need to be an LICSW. And I was like, I love fast pace. I would love to be in the ER. If I didn't have certain physical disabilities, I would have loved to be like a surgeon or a doctor. I love that quick pace, think on your feet kind of stuff. But do your research because yes, LICSWs, I will say, opens up a lot of different avenues because you might get into it and be like, man, I hate therapy. I don't want to do it. And I don't want to be my PhD. I don't want to go do that. Having a LICSW really does open up a lot of different things for you, a lot of different sort of careers. I think that's probably the more versatile. That's the word I was looking for. It's sort of the most versatile degree.
So that's a great reason. Like, so with LMFTs and LPCCs, for example, let's say if they get put into that situation where they're just tired of group therapy or they're tired of one-on-ones, would there be a possibility for them to like maybe get into some type of mental health administration work? Would that be an easy transition, or are they more just it kind of sucks, but they're maybe limited? Or
I mean, I think with any, I don't know. What do you think, Eric?
Well, here it goes. I think administration is fundamentally different than clinical work. I think it's very, to me, it'd be a quantum leap to be an administrator. And no, thank you. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I just haven't met a lot of good administrators now. And I want to separate administration from clinical supervision, my clinical supervisors over the years. I'm talking about the people who make the rules by which your agency functions. Okay. I haven't met a single one I've liked. But maybe that's my arrogance, like Justin. We both kind of like it our way.
Well, but it's true, and here's the thing, like I've often considered applying for a director of human services position, right? I mean, like even at the county level, there was one that came open not that long ago, actually at the county I worked at. But I have a master's degree and I have my license as a clinical counselor. And for me, and I also think it has to do with like your experience, your personality, a bunch of different things, right? I don't think you can base it solely on like, grad school or clinical experience. I think it really has to do also with just everything, because I think I would fit that role well, because that is a system that I could work within, and I would piss off a lot of people. But I wouldn't do that until I was I wouldn't do that until I was off probation and had full support of the union. But then you make waves, because somebody once told me that they're tired of coming to the table to have these conversations. And now when they go to tables, for conversations, they flip the table over, because that's the only time people seem to want to listen and actually make change. And so some of those administrative roles, I mean, with a higher degree, you might fit the bill, and they might look at you and go, yeah, no, you're a licensed counselor, or you're a licensed social worker. Like, we need somebody with business or administration, right? So it's a whole nother thing.
Justin, I so love that you said that, because I have this fantasy of someday, like, going in front of DHS and all the legal people and just saying everything that I dislike about them, how they're hurting the field, how you're killing the field. Pretty soon there's not going to be a therapist. Like, this whole dream I had, and I'm screaming at the guy saying, you're not doing enough to help us. And they're like, well, you being yelling, you being nasty isn't helping. I'm like, you know what? Being nice isn't working for you guys either, though. So maybe I got to cuss at you or get your attention a little bit.
Yeah, well, pandering. I mean, that's what politics and bureaucracy is. It's pandering, and it's no different in the Department of Human Services and really any state agency that oversees these kinds of things. I mean, there's a lot of bureaucracy and BS, and I mean, one of my dreams, Jacob, is to eventually have my nonprofit and have a whole section of my nonprofit be for advocacy work and legislative work. Because I was once told by a not so great clinical supervisor that, oh, Justin, you can't, you think so macro level. You got to just focus micro on the clients in front of you. Well, no, sorry. That's not how I function. And if everybody functioned that way, many people function that way. And that's why there's no change in this country. That's why people struggle and are suffering. So that's a big big dream of mine too, is to have the advocacy, because we have legislators who've never met with a therapist. They've never sat with any of these people, but yet they're up there making laws and statutes and crap. And great. Thank you. Tell me more about how you know more than the three of us.
Right.
Exactly.
One thing I think that we can do, because Justin knows this, so Candace and I really want to be professional speakers, however you define that. So we're constantly applying it different. By the way, there's some competitive speaking out there in mental health. Holy shit. But we ended up getting our latest gig is down in Iowa in May, and we're going to end up doing 2 presentations. And so for me, I look at that as an opportunity to bypass all the administrative bullshit. Let me talk to the people. These are my people. And when you start throwing words around like danger manual, energy redemption, there are people that want to hear that stuff. People are tired of the word self-care. Jacob, nobody gives a shit about that word anymore. Self-care, hell does that mean? So I find that's the way Candace and I would like to reach our audience, is let's just go to the source, because unless they get up out of the audience and walk out, go for it. They're going to like our message. And so far they like what we're having to say, which is this field is dangerous. It hurts people. It's hurt the 3 of us, but very few people will ever tell them that.
I don't want to go on a rant, but I was jaded before I even got to this field. And I said it with actually Robert, my last episode, about how I almost lost all my internship hours over a bullshit slip of paper who wasn't even part of assignment. It was a supervisor's evaluation of me. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I forgot to turn that little slip that wasn't worth anything. And the professor's like, you're getting no credit. You have no hours.
Wow.
Fuck that traumatized me. And I was just like, I don't even know if I have enough energy to even do that again. Like, you need to be ready for the jaded professors too that are also in this field to take
absolutely
ruining your freaking life.
Many, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And again, it's just really, like, people have talked to me, and I could be super negative, even though I'm very close to becoming an LPCC. But like I was bitching to you guys earlier about the whole application process, this and that. It's like I'm almost just done with this bullshit, and I'm not even a licensed therapist yet. It's just they make it so damn difficult. And when I say we, I don't know, the professors, administration, insurance companies, DHS not doing enough to have our fucking backs or whatever.
Right.
Bullshit.
And you know what, Jacob, that's not going to change. But here's what I'll offer you, my friend. We will listen to you. We'll process with you. The nice thing is you're being heard tonight. And I think that's the uniqueness of what we do. We can still support each other through the bullshit. That's not going to change. It's not going to change.
Thank you, Robert.
Don't say that, Eric. It will change. We've got to start. We've all got to start flipping tables, and we've all got to roll. So you and Candace going and doing these presentations. You know, me, I'm having. Which, by the way, you also have another public speaking. I don't know if you know this, but it's coming in August. You just haven't given me your damn proposal yet. But
yeah.
You know, I started this trauma conference, and I was gonna just nix it this year.
Yes.
I was just sort of being with my personal life and just the business thing. I was feeling overwhelmed. And I'm like, why am I working so hard? Why am I trying? Why? Right? All of those things. But my conference that I have, I want it to be something. And I have a vision for it.
Yes.
And it's not just, you know, having a conference just to have a conference, but it's to empower the people and to change the people. I mean, there's many movies made where, you know, I'm thinking of like the movie Ants, right? Or even A Bug's Life, right? Where when they stand up to the ants, right? When they stand up to the grasshoppers, and the grasshopper very specifically says, if they find out, we're screwed, you know, and that is the system. I mean, conspiracy theory, whatever. It's the goddamn truth. The powers that be do not want the people who are actually stronger, and we're stronger in numbers. So to bring this sort of all back, yes, there's griping and there's territorial things amongst LPCCs and LACSWs and LMFTs and PhDs, et cetera, et cetera. But if we all would stop that bitching and we'd all hold each other accountable and we'd all band together, we could, because we all struggle with the same things. Shitty insurance companies, stupid ass rules about, you know, this, that, or the other thing. All the audits, all the bullcrap. We all struggle with those unless you're strictly private pay. But even then you struggle with different things, right? If we all banded together and collectively made our voices heard, I don't know, Eric. I would like to think that there's a possibility that standing up together could make a difference.
Well, let me requalify what I say. It's not going to change. I was referring mostly to the insurance requirements and all that. That they're not going to make that any more simple on us. Meaning that's why I'm glad we have each other so we can talk and relate about it. It is going to take a profound effort to change it because it's very broken. You know, mental health is one of the most broken systems we have of all the professional systems. And I think it does start with conversations like this. Even if one person is listening, it sounds like that was your former supervisor or professor. Do I have that right?
Who I was
Jacob?
talking about, or
Robert?
Yeah.
The story, not Rob. No,
Robert.
Robert's my mentor who's helped me. He's not the evil guy. No.
He's not. Okay.
He's not the guy that took away all my internship hours gone for one damn slip of paper.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't even want to get into it, but long story short,
Yeah.
I fought it and I got the hours, but I still got F for the class. So that was bullshit, actually.
Yeah,
but
that
I got my
is
hours.
bullshit.
You keep triggering the sympathetic part. Stop doing that, Eric.
We have to have Jacob come on. We have to have Jacob come on our show.
Yeah, I would love it. I'm only evil on the weekends.
And,
okay, yeah, I believe that.
Only evil on the weekends.
Yeah, it does only take, it takes a conversation and then another conversation. But the thing is about humans is that conversations only have an impact for about a week or so. I mean, I think about all of the mass shootings, right? The school shootings, you know, down in Uvalde, and all of the crap that goes on in our country. And what happens? We get all excited and all like, yeah, social change. We got to demand, and you know, F the NRA, and we get all right. And then 2 weeks goes by, and that all fizzles out because that is what humans do. That's how our minds work. That's how our attention to these things happen. And I'll catch some flack because I know I have before. Some people will go. Some people in the background will say, "Well, there's agencies doing good work, Justin." Yeah, I understand that there are agencies doing work in the background, and I'm not negating the work that they're doing. I'm saying though, when it comes to public attention, which seems to put the most heat on people, that dies off after a while. And so yes, it just takes a conversation, Eric, but we have to start making those conversations go somewhere. We have to put them into action.
Yes.
Totally agree. And I'll say one more thing before I have to go here. It also comes down to hearing the other side. That's gone away in this culture. We really don't care what the other side says. And I think Justin and I try very hard, and we give each other a lot of shit. But I think at the end of the day, we do want to understand how each other arrived at this position. That's a hard thing to reinvent in this culture because people are convinced they're right. They don't even need data to back it up anymore, you guys. It's just, I'm right. If you have an audience, it's like you have the truth, and no, you don't. And so for me, Jacob, the truth is so precious, and I really do want to understand where you come from, even if I don't agree with whatever your methods are. It's like, Jacob, how did you get there? Help me learn about you, because I'm interested and curious. So that's my final thought tonight. I am going to have to run.
Actually, no, that's a beautiful thought. And again, I just want to thank Justin, Eric. We got to do this again sometimes. We got to have Brittany on again.
Absolutely. It was awesome.
Before you gentlemen leave, though, if any of my audience members want to get a hold of you, is there a particular email, website they could use to message you?
So for the podcast, you can certainly find us on Facebook, Dark Side of Therapy. You can shoot us a message on there. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, the Dark Side of Therapy. We'll eventually get some other things going, so you can find us on Spotify and all those things, but we're working on all the technical things. Personally or professionally, I'm down in rural southern Minnesota, so Mankato area. You can certainly reach out over here. Our website is just gmntc.org. So like the Greater Minnesota Trauma Center, gmntc.org. You can certainly go there, and all of our information is there. So we have some other clinicians, and even if you just want to chat, if you're a new student, you want to talk about things, we'd certainly love to do that. So
absolutely. And our website is pathwaystoyoullc.com. You can reach out to Candace or I. And if you'd like us to come and present, we would be happy to your agency or your group, whatever. We right now are kind of fine-tuning 2 presentations, one on supervision, one on stress and burnout. And I think we keep refining them until we get them perfect. But we love to present. We love to educate. So yeah, we would love to have you reach out to us.
Amen. Well, again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show. And for my audience, I'll make sure all that information is in the show notes. So it'll be just one click away.
Awesome.
And we're going to do this again sometime. It was so cool.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks for having us, Jacob.
Bye now.
I just want to thank Eric and Justin for another tremendous BHI episode. I had a lot of fun having them on the show, and I cannot wait to have them on the show again. I just want to thank all of my listeners for your support, and just to inform everyone that the information expressed in this episode was not meant to be taken as therapeutic advice. If you do find yourself struggling with any type of mental health or addiction issues, please seek the care of a medical doctor or a licensed mental health therapist. And if anyone has any further questions for me, you can reach me at my email address, behaviorhealthintegration121@gmail.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Jacob Minig, where you will find more educational posts on psychotherapy, trauma, and addiction. And finally, you can follow me on my website, which is behaviorhealthintegration.org. I also want to inform everyone that there is a great new device out there called Calmigo. It's a breathing device meant to control and manage your breathing rates and the depth of your breathing as you inhale and exhale to, again, help relieve any type of anxiety and stress-like symptoms. And if you do put the BHI podcast into the promo code, you get $30 off this amazing device. It is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and you will not be disappointed. All right, everyone, until next time, have a good day. Bye.